Welcome into the Fade. I'm your fearless and awful gambling leader, Clay Travis. I'm recovering from a 3-12 weekend in college football. I did go 5-3 in the NFL, which helps to alleviate some of the pain. But right off the top, Kelly, why don't you tell everyone about how I'm the greatest GM in the history of fantasy football, currently dominating our high-end league with the most points posted by anyone, including what might be characterized as a dominant win over your team, which has left you in the hawk to the good guy here already early in football season.
Yeah, I owe $1,000 to Clay. I maybe should just donate it to some charity in his honor instead, but that was not the agreement. I'm sure he's going to let his 14-year-old buy something awesome with it instead. I digress. Clay, very good win. If you had just benched Alvin Kamara, I still wouldn't have won. That's how dominant the Saints were over the Cowboys the other day. I'm just floored. It was so bad. It was over before it even started. Let's be real.
So I'm just going to leave a running tab with our fearless league commissioner because I don't know what I owe or anything else. But I'm just going to be like, hey, just go ahead and put it on my tab in a positive way, and we'll see how much more money I end up making before the season is over. But tonight we have got Patriots Jets. Jets are out around a 6-point favorite, over under 38.5. Here's what I like in this game. If I have to bet it, and I probably will, I would take the under, Kelly, because Gerard Mayo's defense has played pretty well. I don't believe in Jacoby Brissett. I watched both of these Jets games. Their offense has not been really firing at all. We'll talk about the Titans collapsing against them thanks to Will Levis yet again, who I told you not to bet on. But to me, the under is the play. Do you feel strongly one way or the other about Thursday Night Football? I know a lot of people in Boston and New York are fired up for it. Intriguing game somewhat, if only for Aaron Rodgers to see what he can do this year coming off the injury. But again, I like the under. I think the under's the play.
Yeah, only I could bet on Will Levis in back-to-back games where he throws multiple interceptions. It's so much fun. Let me tell you how much I don't recommend doing that. As far as tonight's game goes, I have 4 survivor pools left in Las Vegas. I have 5 over at Splash. I'm using the New York Jets in 3 of them. I am completely nauseated. 5 hours basically before kickoff. They have played 3 games in 10 days. You have Aaron Rodgers, who gets a nice win at the Titans. But really, did they? If it wasn't for Will Levis, so I have a lot of question marks here. But sometimes you just need a win. I'm not going to bet this game. I just need the Jets to win at home, capitalize off that win on Sunday. I know it's a short week. I understand that the New England Patriots are better than advertised. I do have them over 5 wins, but man, just win. And then I'm just going to cheer for Survivor chaos on Sunday and Monday.
All right. So that is Thursday Night Football tonight. I'm on the under. Kelly's got the Jets on her survivor pool. Let's start with college football. Friday night game, Illinois at Nebraska. 2 teams that are 4-0. Each of these teams, 3-0. Each of these teams has to be ecstatic to be 3-0. Illinois, Brett Bielema, they're starting to get a little bit of mojo. Year 2, Matt Rule. I like Nebraska to win, but this number, and I'm checking it right now, this number has gotten out over a touchdown, at least when I was betting earlier this week it was. And to me, the under on points is the better play here. So I'm on the under. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. The number has come down a little bit, but when I'm looking at Kelly right now, Nebraska still over a touchdown favored. Do you have a read on Nebraska-Illinois, which I would say is probably like the 5th-ish best game of the college football weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 top 25 teams. Now you have Illinois off a nice win over KU at home. You've got Nebraska off a couple of good, we'll call them okay wins. I mean, this is the best Nebraska team that they've seen in Lincoln since 2016, Clay? Like, you've got to get excited for some of these kinds of teams because there is so much history there. I don't know if I'm buying Nebraska is back just yet, but I do think Nebraska deserves to be a touchdown favorite in this one. I'll say this much. I can report to you that early in the week, a sharp group Bet Nebraska, pushed it all the way up. And if you know anything about early week limits, Clay, $500, $1,000 bets here and there start to push numbers up. Everything's a lot more fluid. And then they came back and they slammed Illinois. So unfortunately, I missed the good number on the Illini. And then I have some real questions about this Nebraska defense, right? They could not get off the field versus UNI, but we'll see how this one ends up playing out. If you're going to make me pick it, I'm going to lean Illinois, and maybe come kickoff tomorrow night, I might actually be on them. But I really wishing I would have got that 9.5 early in the week.
All right, let's go into some of these top 25-ish games. I said that I thought Illinois, Nebraska, maybe the fourth or fifth best game of the college football calendar. Let me go into these others that have top 25 matchups that I think really kind of stand out. USC on the road against Michigan. SC right out around a 5.5-point favorite-ish. I'm on the under in this one. Michigan bringing in a new quarterback. They've benched Davis Warren. I don't think they have much on the offensive playmaking side. SC got the big win over LSU, but I'm not sure that that win over LSU looks that good based on how LSU has looked against Nichols in South Carolina. I think what happens here is Michigan and Sharon Moore rely on the defense. They still have some horses on that side of the ball. I'm on the under in SC Michigan in one of the biggest and best games of the weekend. Top 25 matchup. New Big Ten game. I was out at the Wisconsin-Alabama game, and I was talking with my 14-year-old. I was looking up at the stadium. I can't tell you, Kelly, how weird it looked to see the UCLA, the Oregon, the Washington, and the SC flags flying there with the other conference mates. I'm still not used to it, but it's a big-time game. SC coming across the country. Whether or not going to be a major factor, I'm on the under. Do you have a strong read?
Don't have a strong read, and that's because I still cannot figure out this Michigan team. I'll tell you this much. Miller Moss' first road start is going to be an interesting one. Yes, you mentioned that neutral site game in Vegas versus LSU. My only claim to fame last weekend, and it should have won outright, was South Carolina. That was a really painful loss.
Great bet.
LSU's defense, not as advertised, just like I said. Michigan's kind of going through these weird growing pains that I cannot figure out. Yes, we know it's because Harbaugh went to the NFL. Maybe it's because Connor Stallions isn't feeding them the plays anymore. Regardless, I didn't think their drop-off with Sharon Moore would be this significant. In June, when I made this game 6, Michigan 6, I should be all over this. But this reminds me similar to another game, which we'll talk about involving your alma mater here shortly. Sometimes I need teams to pass the eye test, and that's not anything the Wolverines have done for me yet. Would I be shocked to see Michigan win this game? Absolutely not. Am I wanting to take Michigan in the spot? Absolutely not.
Another big one. So I'm on the under here. Utah in a new conference rival game. I believe these teams have only played once, Utah and Oklahoma State, once back in like 1945 when I was doing my research, limited as it may be. I love Kyle Whittingham and what he has been able to accomplish at Utah. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, also a tremendous success story. The line right around even when you consider that Oklahoma State in Stillwater has a pretty big advantage. They're out now to about a 2.5-point favorite-ish is what I'm seeing, Kelly. But I think if you look historically at games that Utah plays of this kind of magnitude, and I would say this is a big game. This could be an early, I know you're a Kansas State alum and fan, but this could be the kind of game that is a rematch for the Big 12 title. I think that Utah and the defense is able to drag this game into the mud, and so I'm taking the under. The number has come down a couple of points since I bet it, Kelly, so there seem to be other people out there who are buying into this. How do you break it down? You're a big Big 12 fan.
I don't know if they're buying into that. They're just buying into the fact that everybody is tweeting out that Cam Rising isn't going to play, even though we haven't heard definitively whether he will or not, right? And that's no different than any other Utah game for the past 2 years. Is Cam Rising going to play? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But the market tends to overreact and go a little crazy. I love Mike Gundy, especially as a home underdog, except for now he's a small home favorite. This team has been so Jekyll and Hyde already this season. I'm still sitting around waiting for Ollie Gordon to have an Ollie Gordon game that they promised me he was going to have. You've got Alan Bowman, who's as old as I am. Again, no Cam Rising on the other side. If you want to take the better defense plus the points here, I could absolutely see why you like Utah. I could also see this being a 21-17 final. It wouldn't shock me in the slightest, Clay. I think you're on the right idea there with the under.
The other big game, some might say the greatest game that will be taking place this weekend. Tennessee going on the road against Oklahoma. Now, our good buddy Todd Furman likes to say every line tells a story. And this is one, you mentioned the preseason line for Michigan hosting SC and how much, it may have moved. This was a game where it's probably moved at least 11 or 12 points. Oklahoma around a field goal, a bit more favorite in some of the preseason numbers. Right now, Tennessee out over a touchdown. I got what I think is a good number early in the week. Maybe partly because I'm in Tennessee. They're trying to get some money early in the week. I took Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to win this game by 10 points or more. I'm going to tap the vein. Blood bank guarantee here, Kelly. Offensive line of Oklahoma is suspect. They have injuries. They haven't protected Jackson Arnold well. They're going against what I think is actually the strength of Tennessee, which is the defensive line. Tennessee could come out, young quarterback Nico. They could turn it over a couple of times. They could get a punt blocked. Oklahoma could score in non-traditional fashion. But this Tennessee team has not given up a touchdown in 4 straight games. I believe I'm correct. Tennessee, Ohio State, Ole Miss, and one more team have not given up, Georgia, I think, a offensive touchdown to the opponent yet. I think Tennessee is going to take control of this game, win by double digits. I love the Vols to cover. Defensive line dominates Oklahoma's offensive line. You, of course, are a hater. You made the poor choice to bet on NC State in week 2.
You can make a case for NC State. I did not end up on them. I'll relax, fake news. Okay, I know I grew up a nice girl in a middle-class family, but there's no need to attack.
All right, so what do you say? Are you with me or against me here?
I have nothing to do with this game, Clay. Are you kidding? I made Oklahoma a 1-point favorite in July over Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you all the things that scare me about laying it with Tennessee. They have been absolutely rolling. I will not discredit that. But this is Nico's first true road game. Yes, you want to put a little asterisk by that NC State game there in Charlotte. I will give the nod to Tennessee on the defensive side of the ball. But if you look at the times that they go on the road versus ranked teams last year, they lost by 14 at Alabama and 29 at Missouri. And that concerns me. I'm going to see what Josh Heupel's got up his sleeve here. I want nothing to do with Brent Venables in Oklahoma. Did you watch that Tulane game last weekend? I caught some glimpses of it, and late in the third quarter, half the fans left because they were on the ropes to Tulane, which they ultimately won and covered against. I think there's trouble in paradise there in Norman, Oklahoma. As you mentioned, I don't want to step in front of this Tennessee freight train. I'm just not sure they've played a good enough team to be a 7.5-point road favorite in Norman.
I understand you're wrong, but I understand your argument. Okay. This is, let me hit you with some of my other college football picks, and then I'm curious if you have any strong reads. UF Mississippi State, what I'm calling the Sadness Bowl, could be the last game of Billy Napier if they lose. I'm on the over after watching Mississippi State get rolled at home by Toledo and watching Florida not be able to stop Texas A&M's running attack. Ohio at Kentucky. I'm on the under. This Kentucky offense is a mess. Vandy, I got over 3 touchdowns. That number's jumping around there at Mizzou. Kent State, I don't know, Kelly, if you watched any of Kent State, Tennessee. Kent State may be the worst FBS team I've ever seen. Penn State gets to play them off a bye week, which feels like just sadomasochism at a different level. And then I've got Miami, USF. I'm taking USF plus the points. I think this is going to turn into an interesting game. And I like the over. And then Northwestern at Washington, the under. Okay, so those are all my picks. They're all up at OutKick college football. I believe that's 12 picks. We need a big bounce back after last week's disaster. What do you like in college football? Do you feel strongly about any of these?
Yeah, I feel strongly that everybody should bet Miami now because USF is my double-digit dog of the week. Look, I'm not so shocked that you're on them as well. Who has Miami played? Florida, you just mentioned all of their defensive woes. Billy Napier on the hot seat. Florida A&M, who they absolutely waxed, and then they paid $1 million to beat up on Ball State. I'm not sure what this team is, but this is a really good rush defense in USF. Games in Tampa. Whether or not there's going to be a million Miami fans there, I'm not sure it matters. Mario Cristobal is still on the opposing sideline, so that is good news for us, catching double digits. I love Michigan State this weekend. As you know, Jonathan Smith as an underdog has been huge for me over the past few years, especially when he was at Oregon State. Got Bill O'Brien's team off an ugly loss in Columbia, Missouri. That one had to hurt. They can pick up the pieces, sure, but I think Michigan State's defense is ultimately going to keep this within a touchdown, possibly win the game outright. And then I really like Navy. FSU just gets beat up by Memphis. Memphis back-to-back road games. And look, if you look on paper, they've absolutely owned this Navy team, but Navy has one of the best red zone defenses in the country. I think that this game has been circled for them for a long time. We saw this one come from 10.5 down to 9. I like Navy +9. I think the +300 is live. And because our producer, Aaron, said we have to talk about it, I'm going to talk about my alma mater as well. And I have some real concerns about them going into Provo. K-State looked really good last week versus number 20 Arizona, sitting there at the restaurant, flipping back and forth, being completely obnoxious. Special teams, you get a punt return, and that was all she wrote. K-State looked really good in that bounce back game. Now you're going to a high altitude environment with a BYU team that was projected to finish in the bottom 3 in the Big 12. Now all of a sudden, they look a lot better than advertised. Kalani Sitake, great head coach, especially as an underdog. That does concern me. I think this might be too many points for Kansas State. Hopefully they still get the win for me. But if a lot of guys looking at BYU, and I kind of don't blame them here.
All right, that is college football. Let's go into the NFL. I already told you I like the under on Thursday Night Football. Do you have a favorite bet in the NFL this week, Kelly? And if it's Will Levis, then you just need to retire from betting.
Yeah, exactly. It is not Will Levis, but I could make a case to bet on Will Levis again. Of course I could. I'm going to take Tampa Bay as my best bet. I laid the 6.5 yesterday with this team. And look, ultimately, I understand Denver's going to win a game. I just don't think it's here against this Tampa Bay Bucks defense. You mentioned how poorly Will Levis looks. What about all of the other rookie quarterbacks? I know Will Levis is in a second year, but the rookie quarterbacks this year in the league have looked horrendous. Bo Nix, what your only answer is, oh, I threw it to the other team. I don't know. Baker Mayfield and company looks pretty good. I know that you never want to back a team after they looked as good as they did last week in Detroit, but I think that this Bucks team is going to absolutely throttle Denver. This is going to be like one of those 31-10 type finals. Denver can't score unless, of course, it's a pick six or a safety.
I agree with everything you just said, which may make you question your favorite bet. I've already bet the Bucks. Baker Mayfield's playing well last week. I felt good about taking them on the road against the Lions. I think they're going to go 3-0. Bo Nix is eventually going to be a good quarterback. He's not there right now, not close to it. I think they're going to really struggle to score. This Baker Mayfield offense is performing at a high level. I already bet the Bucks -6.5 as well, so we agree on that one. Do you like any others?
Yeah, I'm trying to make a case for the Rams here, Clay. This is a big overreaction to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being out. And I don't understand how on earth San Francisco is laying 7 in a divisional game on the road. We know 0-2 home teams have been absolutely dangerous against the spread in the NFL. I mean, they're hitting at almost a 66% clip historically. Did we also forget that the Niners are without their star running back and Deebo Samuel? I think there's a big overreaction here to the injuries. I bet against the Rams last weekend. I told everybody I was going to be on the cards because they were off that Detroit loss. They were super banged up. I expect the Rams to put up quite a big fight here against their divisional rival in San Francisco. 7.5 is too many points. The whole world is just going to tease down the Niners. I think the Rams actually might win this game outright.
All right, let me give you a couple, see what you think. I'm taking the Colts -1.5. You mentioned the 0-2 teams at home. The Bears have shown me nothing to suggest that they should be somewhere under a road field goal underdog. Like, this line does not make sense to me. Caleb Williams hasn't looked very good. I think it's going to be low scoring. I know that you're still dealing with a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson who has not looked very good. But to me, Colts -1.5 is a great play. Another 1.5 point line. And there's a lot of lines, and this is the number when I bet them, Kelly. So if they've moved, I haven't checked today to be sure. Chargers. On the road, 2-0 teams at the Steelers. Steelers haven't been able to score. Justin Herbert and Harbaugh are firing already on it. Feels like all cylinders. I don't understand the Chargers as a road dog, even with a good Steelers team. So I'm taking the Colts to cover as around a 1.5 point favorite. Chargers to win. I think they win outright, but you can get them +1.5 right now, or you can play them on the money line. You feel strongly about either?
I'm not going to play either. I know a lot of people that think Chicago is the right teaser play. I think the total is just a touch too high for me to get involved there. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. He struggled both games, not only against your Titans, but again last week with the Texans. I'm not impressed. Anthony Richardson, though, I do actually have more faith in. We're going to see how he progresses. That one makes sense. I never like to lay road chalk, Clay. It's almost like something I'm immune to. I will be on the Lions ultimately come Sunday, but the Chargers looks like the right side to me here. This is a Steelers team that is already superseding expectations. Everybody said take their season win total under. If you look at that back half of their schedule, that's where they're really going to get hit hard. I like what I'm seeing out of Harbaugh in LA. Pittsburgh, this is finally their first home game of the season. And guess what? Historically, they don't cover 0-5-1 against the spread in the last 6 seasons. So I'm not buying the hype with the Steelers, who can't seem to score.
All right. Packers, Titans, you mentioned the awfulness that is Will Levis. Uncertainty, to be fair, about this game because Malik Willis may or may not be starting. Jordan Love may or may not be starting. We probably won't know till close to kickoff. So this line could move pretty substantially based on that. But I think no matter who starts at quarterback, you're going to have a not very mobile Jordan Love. I think they won't play him unless he's really close. I think they'll let him sit out again. Malik Willis coming back to the Titans after they traded him basically said, you're not the future here anymore. I love the under. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. They're going to dial back any type of big-time downfield threats. Titans are 0-2. If they had a non-moron quarterback, and if they could just punt, they'd probably be 2-0. With the Packers coming to town, I'm taking the under in this game.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yet another 0-2 home team. It fits the system, but I'm not doing this to myself. I can only handle so much Will Levis costing me games. It is just so infuriating. But you're right. They do look like they're the right side. Malik Willis looked serviceable. I'm going to say that much. We're going to see. Time will tell what his future looks like there in Green Bay, but hopefully Jordan Love trots back out there again here in the next few weeks. Man, if Will Levis could just take a sack, we would be having a completely different conversation right now, Clay.
No, we would. Trust me. I've watched every snap. All right, but he's a moron. What else do you like on the Sunday slate? Are there any that jump out to you?
Yeah, I mentioned I'd probably be on Detroit over Arizona by the time everything kind of the dust settled. I don't like laying road chalk. I said that just a little bit ago. But now you look at Dan Campbell, right? And what he's able to do off a loss, 17-9 against the spread in the following game. Arizona just waxed that same banged up LA team we just talked about. I am not loving this Cardinals team enough to say they're going to have these back-to-back wins. I'm not sure they can stack wins. We haven't seen them do so historically. They're 7-2 after a win since 2021. That's just not what this team does. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I need a little bit more evidence for me to play Detroit. But they are just kind of hovering there on that long list of games that if I get enough of a nudge come Sunday morning, I might be on the Lions.
I'm taking the over in this one. I feel good about this new Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. Tandem. The Lions have scored, but they have given up points as well. So I think the over 51.5 is the play in that one. Ravens-Cowboys, huge game. 0-2 Ravens, 1-1 Cowboys. Cowboys got waxed by the Saints down in New Orleans last weekend. Derek Carr is suddenly unstoppable with Kubiak. Meanwhile, Lamar missed the throws at the end of the game against the Chiefs, and then they give up a pretty decent-sized lead to Gardner Minshew and the Raiders. Tough home loss. I don't understand why they're favored. I really don't, Kelly. Usually there's a lot of money on the Cowboys. I'm taking the Cowboys plus the points, home underdog. I think the Cowboys win outright.
Since 1990, 279 teams have started the season 0-2, and only 32 of them have turned around it to make the playoffs. Trouble in Baltimore, and I mean big trouble. That's why, Clay, they have to win this game. This is a must-win game for week 3. How insane does that sound? I'm really nervous for Ravens fans. Cowboys, we've seen some glimmers of hope. That's probably why I lost to you last weekend, because the Cowboys got killed by the Saints, and half my team is full of Cowboys players. I don't want any part of this game, but I'm going to tell you right now, I want no part of laying points with Baltimore.
What else? Do you like anything else from the NFL Sunday slate? Those are my 6, by the way. Colts minus 1.5, Chargers plus 1.5, Broncos, the Bucks minus 6.5. This is up on OutKick, the OutKick 6-pack, under on Packers Titans, over Lions Cardinals, and I'm on the Cowboys plus the points against the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, if I hated myself enough, I'd take the 3.5 with Atlanta, but I have lost so much money betting against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then being such a puss that I couldn't bet the Cincinnati Bengals last week plus the 6, but I also know that I would have been on the money line. That's the reality. I do like what I've seen out of Atlanta and Kirk Cousins. I think he's broke the primetime curse. Has he finally won enough primetime games to say that? Last Monday, we'll say this much. That win wasn't so much on Kirk, even though he did show some ice in his veins as Nick Sirianni kind of screwed up that one. But Bijan Robinson looks really good.
And also Saquon dropped the pass. That was a tough aspect of that game.
As well. Look, I've not been impressed with Kansas City or Patrick Mahomes so far this year. But just like last season, they struggle early on, and then they just start turning it on at some point throughout the playoffs and win another Super Bowl. But if I was sick enough to take the 3.5, I would.
All right. We will be back on Thursday. Kelly, anything else for the gambling weekend in college football, NFL, you think people should know?
Hey, nope. That's all I've got. Pray for me, Clay. Tonight, I have the Jets.
I'm on the under. We will be back Thursday of next week when my Tennessee Volunteers will be 4-0, ending the bye week with a really good shot to make the playoff. Good luck to Kansas State against BYU. Kelly, I will see all of you next week, as will Kelly. We appreciate y'all and hope you have enjoyed the Fade Let's Get Rich, kids.